Hello again, beautiful people. Welcome or welcome back. Now, originally I was going to do a different video this week, but if you follow me on Instagram, then you must have noticed that I have been obsessed with a new art supply. Well, I say new loosely because I actually bought these a year ago and I intended to use them one way and it didn't work out for me and I just never touched them. And so, yeah, they just sat on my desk. I hoped that I would use them, but I never did. And yeah, I picked these up a couple days ago and I've just been loving them. So these are, or the supply I'm going to talk about, which I'm sure you know because you've read the title, are the Stabilo Woody 3-in-1 pencil crayon thingies. Woody 3-in-1. So I think these are actually marketed for children. They are a pencil that you can use on a variety of surfaces, and they are water soluble, meaning that if you put the pigment down on paper, you should be able to break up or loosen the pigment so that you can spread it, similar to like a watercolor pencil. When I bought these, I thought they would be like a good, cheaper alternative to the Neo colors. But yeah, no, you're going to see right now what I mean. But I don't think work as well as those. Anywho, so yeah, these little chunky crayon things, they come in different pack sizes. I think I bought like the biggest pack size, and they come with a special sharpener that you need because these are a very large crayon. So obviously you're not going to be able to use just a regular old sharpener for it. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how these perform on different papers, how it performs on water, with water, and by itself. So I'm going to just pick my favorite colors out of the pack, which is of course this like turquoise one is like my all-time favorite. And let's go with, I guess, red. All right, so these are supposed to be water soluble, meaning that you can, like I said, break down the pigment with water. Okay. I am going to say that some of these are really creamy, whereas some of the crayons just aren't as creamy. Oh yeah, and 5. But these, my favorite colors are the creamiest in my opinion. All right, so this is on plain printer paper, and you can see that the pigment is moving. Now, I would say less water is probably the best way to use these. So the reason why I got these was to use in this way, but I'm sure you've noticed it by now, but when you add water, unlike the Neo 2s, you're still able to see where you originally put down the color. So I can see my initial like marks with the crayon, and I do not like that. So that's on regular printer paper. That bled over to my watercolor paper, so we're going to pretend that's not there. So this is, I think, Canson watercolor paper, so it's pretty good quality watercolor paper. But obviously I would not use these. I mean, I bought them for my journal. I didn't really buy them to use on watercolor paper, but you could. So I think it's a little bit better in terms of hiding the initial brush strokes on the watercolor paper, and it definitely comes across as like, oops, did not wash that. It definitely comes across as the colors come off more vibrant, I think. Ugh. Okay, we're gonna pretend that that's a perfect swatch colored thing. All right, so there it is on watercolor paper. Now, I think the colors came across a little more vibrant on this, but like I said, you can still see the initial marks from where I laid down the crayon, and I personally, like I've mentioned before, I don't like that. Now, the way that I have been using these is without water. I have this black papered sketchbook. I found this at a thrift store for like 50 cents. And I picked it up because originally I was going to cut up the paper and use that to make like tip-ins and stuff. And I'm so glad that I bought it because these things look so rich and pigmented on black paper. It's unreal. So this is like my first sketch. I wanted to use as many colors as possible. These are all the colors that I have on black paper. You can see it's like really, really vibrant. We'll go back to that. It's really vibrant. I love how creamy and smooth these apply. I will say that because these are larger, you're not going to be able to get a lot of precision in terms of your drawings. Like, you're not going to be able to get like really fine details if that's what you wanted these for. Like, this is more, I think, for loose, messy sketches. Which is perfect in my opinion. I think this is a great way to like loosen up and just like create things without any kind of like expectation. I feel like this really just helps me be loose, I guess, in terms of like drawing and stuff. That's a pigeon. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I have pigeons that are constantly trying to build a nest on my balcony. And then this is one that I did last night. So anyway, you can see like you get so much. I really, really love like the sketchy marks and things on black paper. I just love that messy look. It's just effortless. So let me show you how these same colors that I had been swatching look on here. So there's that blue, red, lime green, pink, and the turquoise. So you can just see like here. I mean, they still look nice just as is on regular paper. But personally, I just love how it looks on the black. Now, like I said, I don't use these with water. I actually don't know what it would look like. Oh, that's interesting. On the black paper, it looks a lot more chalky. And I think I actually got that in a comment on one of my Instagram posts. Somebody mentioned that it looks like chalk. And I'm not mad at it. It's not too bad. Anyway, yeah, I just use these to sketch and draw things. On black paper, I've just been loving it. So I guess I'm going to go over like some of the ways, or some of the things that some of my favorite ways to use these on this black paper. So one of the things that I noticed that can be slightly frustrating, I guess, if you're working on black paper, is that obviously you're not really able to see the black crayon on the black paper, because obviously it's black on black, you're not going to see the color. So one of the things that I've found is that if you are trying to create a drawing that has a black outline or just some kind of black on there, what I like to do is do a light layer, or a layer of a light color. Now you don't want to press too hard when you're doing this, because I have found that these do not layer that well on top of each other. So once you get to a certain point of product, you're not really able to add on color. On top of that color, it just kind of like sinks in, if that makes sense. So you want to do like a light wash of color, because if you do, for example, like this, and see, I'm really pressing down hard, and I'm just layering product and color on there. So let me just show you the difference. So if I wanted to, I don't know, do an eyeball on here. So you can see that black. I mean, it's not the greatest, but from there, you would just use that as your base outline, and then you would add color. So there I can fill in the pupil. I can add a pop of pink. And then if I want, I could intensify that peachy shade that I put as the base layer for the face. But you want to be careful, because the colors will mix together. So like here, you can still do that, but you can see that the black is not as dark or as pigmented on this side as opposed to this one, because it's trying to go over that already waxy surface from that initial base color. So it's not going to be as vibrant. And so here I'm having to press really hard to try and get that pink. And I mean, it's doable. But personally, I like how this looks more than this one. Another thing that happens is, let's show it here. If I have a lot of color like this, and I put some black on top, like let's say I want to add some green, that is one way to like mix your colors. They do kind of mix together. If you layer on top of each other like this and just kind of go back and forth, you get some cool effects, but at a certain point it just kind of stops doing that and it looks very messy. So you can, like I said, build color, but to a certain extent. So now that this is kind of dry, I will show you an example of that. Oh, and here it is up close. Okay. See what I mean here? But this looks a lot significantly darker than here. You can see, as opposed to having a consistently dark streak, you have, it looks kind of smudged and it's kind of faded and dull. So that's what happens when you try to layer color on top of a lot of color. So less is more for this. So like here, I use that effect for this guy. So I did like the lightly colored, and then I did the black to bring out the eyebrows and the mustache. And then here is that face that I did yesterday. Now you can, these do blend somewhat. So if I wanted to make these look smoother, you can use your finger. And I feel like my finger works best because it's it warms up that product and causes it to smooth out. So if you don't like those sketchy lines, you can use, like I said, your finger to warm it up and spread out that product. Obviously, it's not going to be as vibrant as it was when you first layered the crayon and stuff, but I mean, it's really how you plan to use it. But anywho, yeah, so that is something that I have just been loving. I know there are other reviews out there. I think you could probably use these with gesso as well, which is not something that I've done. But I guess let's do that. So let's try moving that product with gesso as opposed to water and see what that looks like. I wish I had black gesso, but I don't. So white will have to do. So that looks really, really smooth with white gesso. You can't really tell where I initially put down the color. Let's try that on regular paper. You can still kind of see the original markings on printer paper. Obviously, you're not going to have like as opaque a color because the white is diluting that pigment. Let's try it on. Well, that's going to be interesting because it's on black paper, but okay. It's not too bad. So I guess really it's how you want to use it. For me, I like how quick and easy these are, using them as crayons as is on paper. I mean, you could use a gesso, but honestly, I've been using this as like a warm-up, so it's easier for me to just grab it and go as opposed to having to like take out the gesso and get a brush and all that stuff. So let's talk about pros and cons. I think let's start with the pros. My favorite thing about this product is that they are very opaque. I just love how creamy and vibrant they look on black paper. I love that like loose, sketchy look. And for me, that helps relieve anxiety when I'm trying to draw something, because when you have such a larger nib or larger tip, you don't have as much control. You know, I can't stress about the tiny details, about all of the shading or like the eye shape or how I'm gonna get the lips right. Like, I can't stress about that because there's literally nothing I can do to fix it, you know? Like, these are gonna lay down very haphazardly, you know, there's not a lot of control. And I think that that's sometimes really, really important when you are a creative, is to have that control taken away, because I don't know about you guys, but sometimes I just have like that panic of like, how am I gonna make this? Like, you know, I stress over all these little things, like why isn't this looking right? And this kind of removes me from that, and it just allows me to create freely. So, I mean, it's been a very cathartic experience using these. So for me, that's a definite pro. Obviously, they are very portable. They are very easy to use. I have them all. Whoops. So I had to cut that part out. I knocked my drink over. That's been a thing that's been happening to me a lot. That's like the 4th drink I've dropped in like the last week. Anyway, yeah, they're very portable. Like I said, very easy to use. I have them all in this like little pouch that I got a while back on Amazon. It came in like a set. I bought them to use it for ephemera. Never used it for that, and so I think this works great. But yeah, they're super portable. Like, honestly, like they work so well as is. Like, I love that it's just a very like no fuss product. So yeah, just to recap, they are portable, they are creamy, they are pigmented, and they allow me to have creative freedom without pressure. All right, moving on to the cons. I think in the States these are a little more expensive. I was very fortunate to get them on clearance for like 10 euro over here. That's not the case in the US, so these can be a little more expensive. I don't 100% know. I'll link the Amazon link to these, or the US Amazon. So that can be a con. Another con is the shape. It doesn't bother me, but for some people it might, because you cannot sharpen these without the special sharpener. When you buy a bigger set of these, it does come with this free, which I do recommend you do if you're thinking about testing these out. Make sure you get a set with the sharpener, because the sharpener obviously has to be a specific size to fit the chunkiness that is this. You will never be able, or at least I have not been able, to get a fine tip using the sharpener. So it's always going to be kind of dull and bulky. So if you are a person who really likes those fine, minute details, this is not the product for you, because you will not be able to achieve that with these. These are very clunky. That being said, if you do not like to use like thicker writing instruments and stuff, this might be uncomfortable for you, because obviously these are thicker, they are a larger size. I haven't had any issues. I have tiny hands, and yeah, I don't have any problem with these. Another con, not all of these are as creamy. So my favorite colors, the ones that I picked up, the ones that I used for this review, they are really smooth they were really smooth right out of the box. Like, just, they glide beautifully. That's not the case for all of the colors, just to be upfront with you guys. Let me pull one that's a little drier. So, okay, like this purple. All right, that's not a good example because it looks creamy. I could have sworn that some of these are not as smooth. Okay, like the orange. Nope. All right, just ignore what I said. They're all perfectly fine. Anyway, yeah, so, let's see. That's that color. Might as well just do them all at this point. Okay. And I think that's pretty much it. It was supposed to, for my cons. The size, the special sharpener, the fact that you don't get fine details. They can be a little on the pricier side. Also, they don't work, I don't think they work the greatest with water, in my opinion. I don't like, when it comes to a water-soluble product, I do not like if I can see the initial mark that I made. I mean, if it's light, I can excuse it if I really like how it performs, but for me, like, there's just too much showing after adding water that I'm not a fan. Oh, I guess I should also say I didn't like how it looked with gesso, so maybe I'll use that. Probably not, but maybe. And that's pretty much it. That is my really quick, haphazard review of the Stabilo 3-in-1 Woody pencils. I love them. They're great. I am going to continue using them for loose sketches. Like I said, I just really like how, for me, this is just so stress-free and I just get to play. Thank you guys so much for watching and enduring and listening to my rambly, spur of the moment review slash introduction of my new favorite product, because I can say with full confidence that this is my new favorite just of all time. Okay. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. You all have a good one. Thank you guys so much for supporting me. I will see you later. Bye. Whoops, I realized after the fact that I didn't show you how this looked on craft paper. So here we go, just a little added bonus. I did the regular swatches with water and then with gesso, just so you could kind of see how it also looked on craft paper.